Arteta! What a strike! What a screamer! Zola! And a fantastic goal! Arsenal back in it! And here's Lingard, lines it up, finds the net. Arsenal in front.
Facing an injury crisis, Arsenal will now have to figure out how to get through the rest of the season without any real quality defenders. It is a shame, and if only there was a period of time where we could acquire these players for the remainder of the season. A period of time like a window, perhaps. If only a window would open for us to acquire players to help with this defensive crisis. Alas, no such period exists as far as the club is aware. This is the Arsenal Vision post-match podcast. My name is Elliot Smith, and you can block me on Twitter at Yankee Gunner. Bit of a rambling opening, which will match up nicely with the rambling ending, because at the end of this podcast, we've got a good 25-minute conversation with Dave Meeks, Dave Meekleham, the Scotsman from the Doomcast, the erstwhile Arse to Mouse podcast. He makes an appearance. You cannot follow him on Twitter, but you can listen to him on this podcast. If you did not listen to the Arse to Mouse podcast, first of all, congratulations and good for you. If you did, I should warn you, it tends to be a gloomy, rambling affair, and that is the kind of content you can look forward to at the tail end of this podcast. But you can look forward to the usual content at the beginning of the podcast, and by that, I mean, well, whatever you think that means. So let's start first and foremost by introducing the gentlemen, and I use that term loosely, who are here. Paul's on Twitter. You can find him at Twitter. Paul is on the podcast. You can find him on Twitter at Pausing in My Pants. Hello, Pause.
Woohoo.
Woohoo indeed. And Clive is here. You can find him on Twitter at ClivePAFC. Hi, Clive.
Yeah. Hello.
Okay, enough of the lighthearted stuff for a moment. We do want to give a mention to something I meant to actually in a previous podcast, but due to being out of town and not being in the usual setup, I did not have the note in front of me, and it's my fault. But I do want to give a mention to Dave Seger. Dave lost his son Liam, tragically, on New Year's Day in a road accident, just 24 years old. Lifelong Gooner Arsenal supporter, supported the club together as a family, and obviously you can imagine the challenging time that family has gone through. Dave has written books about the Arsenal that you should definitely go find. But what he's doing now to celebrate Liam's life is he's set up a GoFundMe for the Willow Foundation, Bob and Megs Wilson Willow Foundation, which does excellent work with seriously ill young people. So the Willow is the only national charity in England working with seriously ill 16 to 40-year-olds to fulfill uplifting and unforgettable special days. Each day is a life-affirming experience that can lift spirits, reunify families, and be a source of strength when it is needed most. All I can say is that it is an absolutely worthwhile cause, and not that we should ever have a reason to need to donate and give to a worthwhile cause, but in honor of Liam and the passing of a Gooner and a young one at that, you can find it at GoFundMe.com. in memory of Liam Seger. And you can certainly find that on Dave's Twitter as well. So, not the most happy occasion to start the podcast, but certainly always happy occasion to mention people that have touched the club, been touched by the club, and certainly the case with Liam. And we wish Dave the best for him and his family. And I'm sure Paul and Clive echo that sentiment as well, along with Tim and Scott and everyone involved with the podcast. So,
and in fact, Clive and I probably both have a quick thing to say. Dave has been brilliant, instrumental over the years in getting people involved and blogging for Arsenal, and I was one of those people. I wrote a bit or two at the start, and he was a tremendous support and influence, and I met up with the guy, and he's always been incredibly generous to other people, complimentary. He doesn't just compliment you at the start, and then if you get a little bit popular, he's as generous as ever all the way through. So great guy.
Clive?
Yeah, I know him. I know him quite well, and I got involved with Gunners Town through Dave, and he was one that first sort of said to me, "Get yourself out there. You're talking a bit of sense, and try writing." And I tried, right? So, but he gave me the confidence to try, and we talk a lot online, and a really sensible guy. And I have a son with a middle name, Liam, as well. We both know why we named our sons that way, right? So he's a guy similar age to me, and I tell you now, my heart goes out to him and his family 100%. Yeah. And I just dread to think what he's going through. But through football and through people, we can hopefully help keep him strong, right? So Well said, Elliot.
Well, better said by both of you. You can find him on Twitter, by the way, at GoonerDave66. I certainly recommend that you do. legendspublishing.net/double is where you can find his book. But certainly the GoFundMe page, Donate to the Willa Foundation, a good cause in celebrating Liam's life. So with that, we will get on to the much less important topic of football. But the good news is we can keep the tone dour because we lost. We lost to Manchester United. Always fun when that happens. Knocked out of the FA Cup at home to Manchester United. And, it certainly was a good way to throw a wet blanket on top of the Chelsea result and performance, which had lifted the club briefly through all the chaos of a transfer window that was shaping up to be a bit of a bummer, and the Sven Mislintat news. We did beat Chelsea, and it kind of lifted spirits, and then this performance shows up like a turd on the doorstep that we stomped all over. So, Paul, I guess the first thing is when I saw the lineup, I was like, you know what, this is good. We're settling into something. We're going to go with that 4-diamond-2 again. We're gonna press the way we did before. It looks like Emery liked it. He's just made a couple of tweaks to it, but we're going to stick with what worked against Chelsea. It really wasn't that. It was a 4-2-3-1, and I thought it was much less effective. Oba shoved out to the right wing, maybe to try to give more cover to Maitland-Niles. That didn't really work out so well. Let's handle this game in stages because the period after the defenders all got injured and left the world, that was a different period. But let's start with the initial period. Were you maybe a little disappointed when you saw that it was the 4-2-3-1 instead of the 4-diamond-2?
So obviously, I think we're all excited to see the diamond in play again, but it kind of makes sense against United at home that they're going to be less of possession side than Chelsea were, and it's really up to us to take the initiative to them. And they wanted to play the counter-attacking game, which was really the role we played against Chelsea away. So disappointing, but not too surprising that we went to more of a 4-2-3-1 where we were taking the initiative. But it did leave us open to United's favourite tactic at the moment, even without Mourinho, a much more attacking and progressive counter-attacking game. And I think we saw something else as well, which was against Chelsea, who I think we still have to rate as a very good side. They didn't play with the true centre forward, and while I still think they had plenty of threat and potential to hurt us. Our two centre backs didn't have to face off against a centre forward, and in this game they had at least two centre forwards on the pitch at any one time who could give us grief against our centre backs, and I think that showed a little bit, especially after the injuries. So I think the approach was reasonable in general terms, but it was just bad timing, the wrong opponent in the wrong scenario at this juncture. And so we saw this sudden drop off, but I think it explains partly why we were so open through the middle compared to Chelsea. Those two factors, they were doing the counter-attacking, they had true centre forwards, and we'd gone away from the diamond, leaving us somewhat wide open when we went after the game after conceding.
Yeah, and I don't want to pick on Emery. I mean, but tactically, the one thing I said, we did a live pregame show, and the one thing I said he really had to do for my sanity was please don't let Jesse Lingard score. And he didn't do it. So like that alone, I'm very, very mad at that. Don't let that guy score anymore, please. I can't handle it. We knew Alexis was going to score. That was very predictable, but don't let Jesse Lingard score. So, Clive, yeah, I mean, before we get to the injuries and the way that changed the game and some of the defensive performances, I just felt that, look, we had a plan. I don't think it worked as well as their plan. Sometimes that's how it goes. It's not that we didn't have a plan. I'm just not sure it was the right one. I mean, that formation, that setup to me, I don't think it really gets the balance right. How did you feel about the way we were set up?
Well, I hope that's the end of the 4-2-3-1. I generally feel that strongly about it because it uncovers every single weakness that we have. Right, so it doesn't give our centre backs the protection that they need. So Tim pointed out last time that Koscielny had a man of the match performance because he didn't feel the need to jump out of his defensive line. When there's only two people in front of one of those two get moved, he jumps out like he did in one of the goals. Right, so that's one key thing. It doesn't help that Kolasinac has got somebody in front of him filling that space, which is restricting him to going on the outside. He goes on the outside anyway. We completely have a hole on the left back slot, right? You look at Maitland-Niles, his positioning wasn't. He was seen as more of an underlapper against Aubameyang, try to support him, be there for the set. That doesn't work. We need to penetrate down both sides. We do that when we have a diamond because the space is there to run into. We lose the partnership of Aubameyang and Lacazette straight away, so they're now disconnected. A lot of emphasis is on Lacazette to play well. In the Chelsea game, we spoke about Ramsey having a job to do. When you give him one job, he's really, really good. When you give him 2 or 3 jobs, he tries to do them all, and then he runs himself out completely. After an hour, there was nothing left in the tank because he was trying to carry and do everything he possibly could to keep us in that game, to push us forward and come back. You give him too many jobs, that's what happens. And that's what Wenger done to him for so long. And that's where he ended up getting calf strains because he has too much running to do, too much work to do. And then he has done that to him too many times up until Friday night. So I think that formation does not work. The one that would have worked is what I think there should be basically 2 formations we go with, maybe 3. 4-2-2-2, 4 diamond 2, or 3-5-2, whatever configuration. But 4-2-3-1, that reawakens Wenger's Arsenal, that reawakens all the things that we know and love. Fullbacks are at the pitch at the same time. No protection to our centre-backs. People transitioning on us. This is like watching Arsenal beat Manchester United in the Champions League semi-final. It was that simple. And they know how to beat us, and teams are working us out. And you're probably going to come on to it a little bit, but if you're looking at Arsenal now, we overload in fullback areas and wide areas. So Man United did the split forward thing on us. They did what we did to Chelsea. Lingard down the middle, Sanchez on one side and Lukaku on the other. Stand in the left back, right back slots because they're stupid. They're still gonna push on, and we'll use that as our exit plans. Lingard, you run around in centre midfield. You allow us to sort of overload, but when we transition, you transition fast. And Sanchez and Lukaku, you stay there and wait for Arsenal to do something stupid, give the ball away, and then we break into those spaces and we'll have fun against them. And we just walk straight into it, right? We walk straight into it, and disappointing because tactically I thought we were better than that, and I wasn't quite sure what Emery was trying to achieve. But hey, it's football, right?
Well, there were a couple of things that are just, right off the bat, you could see, like, we had a couple early transitions, and Aubameyang had the ball 40 yards from goal trying to, like, start the counterattack or bring the ball through the middle third into the attacking third. Like, that's not where you want him, right? If you're in transition, you want him running onto the ball at the end. I thought the position he was played in, even though ironically he got one of his usual tap-in goals in the box, which he just specializes in finding ways to get those, he spent a lot of the game with the ball at his feet 40 yards from goal. And if you're the opposition, that's exactly where you want Aubameyang. So I didn't think that worked. And maybe he played that position to provide a little wide support for Maitland-Niles, but Aubameyang is not really the best support for the fullback. So, yeah, I didn't think that worked particularly well. Iwobi had one of those Iwobi games, and I know it's just redundant at this point, and people are probably sick of hearing me say it, although to be fair, they're probably sick of hearing me say everything, so there's that. I just love the player until he gets to the box, until he gets to the edge of the box, in the box. And he's just not the same player with the final ball as he is leading up to that. So, I mean, that is something that, I think we have to work on. When I saw the lineup, I thought, 4 diamond 2, and Iwobi will be, in the middle of the diamond, the left middle player in the diamond. That's a great position for him. In the 4-2-3-1, again, too much creative responsibility on his shoulders. So yeah, I didn't think that worked for him. Paul, I want to get to the defensive performance a little bit, and we'll talk injuries in a moment, but let's just talk Maitland-Niles, because a big talking point. Look, with Bellerin injured, Maitland-Niles is sort of the, trademark, the hope, right? Because no one wants to see Lichtsteiner playing there regularly, and I think that we have wish-casted Maitland-Niles into being the perfect replacement for Hector Bellerin, assuming Carl Jenkinson is not. And I think we have to be careful here. I made the point that I thought Maitland-Niles looked out of his depth in this game. That is not me killing the player, hating the player, thinking he'll never be good. He's not a fullback. And being asked to play, fullback for the Arsenal, starting for the Arsenal against Manchester United in the FA Cup, that's deep water. Saying he's out of his depth there isn't the same as saying he's a bad player. I don't think the position necessarily suits him, and I thought this game showed very clear deficiencies in his game for playing that position. So let's have an intelligent discussion about Maitland-Niles, which necessarily means I'm not going to be part of it. But how do you feel he performed maybe positively and negatively in this game?
I think his major challenge is that he's, as a young guy, he's still all caught up in his own individual performance. I thought he was a little bit poor in the first half. His decision making can be, he does some dangerous things in near our final third, some skills and stuff that he hasn't really earned the right to do yet, I think. And he lost out in a number of challenges, and he was ineffectual going forward in the first half. I thought it was much better in the second half on a one-on-one basis, on an individual basis. And I think overall he did a pretty good job on neutralizing Sanchez and Shaw for the most part, especially in the second half. I think he got his teeth into the defensive role. So I thought it was a bit of a mixed game, fairly good in the second half, a little bit off in the first half, but I still found the performance overall troubling from an Arsenal perspective, in that he just doesn't look, nor maybe should he, but he just doesn't look like the answer to our right back, win back issues over the next 4 or 5 months. Now, he still has time to step up, but he just doesn't carry himself in a way that says he's really clued into the role and what's involved there. So I found this one disconcerting, encouraging in terms of how he focused in on a particular job, but there are a number of jobs when you're playing right back and wing back, and he just doesn't look like he knows when to go forward and when to get back. Kolasinac, we know what his vulnerability is, but he added a lot in the final third. And Maitland-Niles, I think, settled down to maybe giving us a little control on the right-hand side, but really didn't give us any penetration when we needed it. So
God knows there's nothing more frustrating than not getting penetration when you need it.
Yeah.
Check out the enclosed lingerie button.
Yeah.
Well, look, Clive, I think, look, there is a difference between saying, Ainsley Maitland-Niles can never be good at fullback and saying Ainsley Maitland-Niles is ready right now to be our fullback for 90 minutes every single game. And that's really the problem. Emery's system, for better or worse, some might say worse, really depends on fullbacks overlapping to build the play, and that means they have to cover both sides of the pitch. There's a lot of responsibility on them. Bellerin's gone. Lichtsteiner's dead. Jenkinson is, let's just say maybe not a professional footballer. So, that's a lot of burden to fall on Maitland-Niles. And so it's one thing if you say he's going to play a few games here and a few games there and get some sub appearances and play in a cup tie. We're talking about needing him to play a crucial role in Emery's system right now, and I don't think he looks ready for it. And so let me clarify really quickly where I thought he struggled. A couple of things. He looked very casual on the ball, and maybe that is the byproduct of being a central midfielder, where you're used to having more options to pass to, right? If you're in the center of the pitch, you have both sides of the pitch to pass to, and having a little more time on the ball. When you're, in your own defensive third and you've got the touchline to your right, you have fewer outlets to pass to. You don't have both sides to look to, and you can't afford to lose the ball there. You can't afford to give it away. So I thought that was an issue. I thought he got lost in possession. I think he led Arsenal with 3 dispossessed and 2 unsuccessful touches. Doing that in your defensive third is suicide. The other thing that really worried me, so I thought he was very good in the duels, in the 1v1 situations. I thought he actually defended pretty well 1v1. The thing that worried me is instincts. So, Clive, I'll give you 2 examples of this. One is obviously the Alexis goal, where he's looking right down the line and the central defenders step up. Now, maybe suicidal. Maybe they shouldn't have. But he was slow to step, and he plays everyone onside. Now, I think it was Shaq on the other side, probably playing them onside too, but Maitland-Niles is a good yard behind that. The other issue, though, and I don't know if you guys spotted this. I have a very keen eye. I don't know if you know that. He would press when it wasn't on and get bypassed. Coughlin used to do that sometimes when he was being deployed forward more, and it would drive me nuts.
Here we go.
But there were so many.
What is Coughlin?
That's what I always wanted to know personally.
He's a centre midfielder. Right?
Well, right, yeah, great point.
So when you're brought up like that, when you see somebody with the ball, the first thing you got to do, you got to close them down, get their heads down, and stop them passing through you. It's just the way he's been schooled. Right?
Can't do that as a fullback, though.
Yeah, fullbacks, what you do in your fullback is you flick your shoulders, check what's around you, spatial awareness, and get into situations and to show people down one side. Right, that's what you do when you're a fullback. When you're a midfielder, you tackle straight up. You're looking to win the ball transition. It's just a psychology. I mean, mate, I'm telling you, all this is, when people were going on about Maitland-Niles being right back, did you notice that I didn't go overboard? I spoke about Mustafi and Jenkinson and a rotation. I think Maitland-Niles is more of a wing back stroke centre midfielder. And actually, one of his weakest positions is right back. When he plays left back, because it's on his other side, he plays it like a midfielder. He comes inside slightly, and he's a tucked-in left back. And that's why he's been quite successful there, because he's almost playing a left midfield deep, because that's what he wants to do. In our minds, we have the fact we like him at right back because he gives us security. We know he's fast, and we know he can win his tackles. Right, so we like it. That bit is boxed up. But when you start to broaden the game of a fullback, you need to be able to run through lines offensively. You need to be able to box out back posts defensively in the box. You need to get up on the line, always be ahead of your centre halves, so your centre halves can see you. So they're the ones that call the line. Right, so it's almost like on an arc. So they're the ones that call the line. So if you're not ahead of them, they should not be calling the line. Right, that's what happened this time. So that's not all his fault. That's a organisation, communication, leadership thing from central defenders, right? But when you're a proper fullback, that's just an automatic response. You just get up quick, you get up tight, and your centre halves then call it from there on. But you should never be behind them, right? Never be behind them. So what we have a player that's very fast, very good, not bad physically, although he does tire late in games if you watch him closely. I went to game on the weekend, so I had a good look at him. He does tire and he does struggle late in games. But what he is really, he is a small space player. And what happens is, mentally, he knocks off. So when you're in wide areas, you need to be very proactive with your movement. So when you're off the ball, you're still in the game. In fact, you are switched on massively because you're waiting for the third man run where you can run between lines and get in on the overload. But what he is, he's a midfielder and he waits for work to come to him. And so he wants it to come to him. So when you're in the centre of the pitch, you're always switched on. You don't have to knock off, right? Because the ball's always there. It's about controlling that area, winning your battles, being dominant technically, being dominant physically, stepping away from people, running through lines, and you're in charge. In the fullback areas, you have lots of dead time, right? And he does not suit dead time. He does not suit dead air. Do you see what I mean? He needs to be in it. He needs to be in the mixer to take away his weakness, because his weakness is, it's not casualness.
Switching off.
He just does what's required.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put him in the Alamo, he'll go and he'll knock 4 people down. If you give him one man, I was watching him just walking behind Alexis, marking him, walking with him. When you're a fullback and it's like a game of chicken with your winger. You say, right, you're going to follow me now. I'm going to make you defend. Right? And sometimes you're walking forward. You make a run just see if he follows you. You see what sort of game plan is. But he just walked next to him and marked him. And you can't just do that. You know, this is not under 16s, right? You got to work, you got to overload, you got to double up, you got to underlap, you got to come inside, you got to cover around your centre back. There are lots of jobs to do. When you're a fullback that's filling in, the one thing you know you can do is win your one-on-ones. If he runs off you, like he did for the first goal, he ran off him, right? You should be passing him on, communication-wise. Mm-hmm. You learn that as a fullback, right? He just run off him. Alexis, great run, goal. I'm not saying that's his fault, but it's indicative of the lack of communication, people standing in for people doing that job. You know, other ways you do it, you make sure you're on the inside of him. When he runs across, you block him off. You don't let him run across your box. There's lots of things to learn. So when people say he's a fullback, he's someone who can play fullback. He is not a fullback. Right, and I said at the weekend, we need to buy a fullback, or we are not going to finish in that top 4. We need a fullback, and in some ways, Jenkinson is a closer profile player offensively to Bellerin, maybe Maitland-Niles he does some of Bellerin's short space work, but what does this team need? In the diamond, we need a bigger space runner.
Yeah.
Right, definitely. If you're going to play Maitland-Niles on the right back, it's got to be as a wing back. So you also use him as a right midfielder, and then you use his recovery speed to come back in to help the right centre half defensively. So I think it's all clear to everyone now. He has a limit as a fullback. There are many teams out there. As I said before, there are top 6 games, and there's the rest. In the rest, he's fine. Top 6 games, Pocket's going to get picked, mate. Simple as that.
Well, and then, the question then, Paul, is I believe very strongly in the idea that if we have a plan and we try to execute it and it doesn't go well, that's football. If you have a plan and it doesn't make any sense, then I have concerns. Emery said after the match, we knew that their counterattacks were an issue. We talked about that. We wanted to be mindful of that. I watched this game. We had 2 fullbacks in their half. We had central midfielders 30 yards from goal, and we had 2 center backs standing on the midfield stripe. And I just thought we were incredibly vulnerable to counterattacks. And time again, it was 1 pass or 2 passes, and they had 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s, 4-on-3s. So, how do you reconcile Emery's comment that we were focused on their counterattacks and discussed it with what seemed to be the reality of the situation, which is that we were constantly cut open?
Yeah, well, I think he got rattled at a certain point. I mean, I often wonder, what's it like when you suddenly lose a couple of players basically in the same position, and you look to the bench and the players aren't there, and you're moving everything around. And, he used a valid excuse that we lost some players, but it didn't really, like, our first move was to bring on Mustafi for Socrates, which, I know we all see a substantive difference there in terms of style and for many people in terms of quality, but it should have been at least okay. And, they got 2 quick goals around the 30-minute mark, and we were rattled. So we got back into the game before halftime, which was good. And he had the halftime to consolidate where we were at. But then he has that follow-on injury. And I think that just turned us to shreds because our midfield was taken apart at that stage.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Bringing on Ozil, that's just, putting... I thought Xhaka did okay as centre-back, it has to be said. But so it was less the impact in some ways on the centre-backs, but that's got to have kind of disconcerted everybody. The midfield was all shook up. You got Ozil in there now, and you got Guendouzi coming on shortly afterwards, and he travels all over the pitch. Love the guy, but he doesn't stay in one place. That was a lot to deal with in the second half, so I kind of have a lot of sympathy for him. I wasn't surprised overall that United had that kind of a game against us overall. And I think it was just too much to deal with. I think they're in the moment at the moment. Emery had too many changes and didn't know how to get some control over this. And he basically said, fuck it, we'll go for the extra goal. And they hit us on the counter. I think it's better to judge us on the game before that first half really was where the game was still bounded and there was some element of structure and control. As soon as we brought on Ozil, I think things went to shit, to be honest. And I'm not particularly blaming Ozil. I just don't think Emery had a game plan that could support that setup with Ozil, with Guendouzi wandering around. Xhaka now dropped deep. And I think it turned into a mess. And this game is has become a bit of a one-off. The question is, how damaging is it?
Well, yeah, it's a one-off, except for the fact that those injuries are not one-offs. And
yeah,
we're going right.
Yeah.
So I totally see what you're saying. It's interesting with Guendouzi, right? Because he came on and immediately made some incredible passes. Really good line-breaking passes. The thing with Guendouzi, and someone on Twitter, and I don't remember who it is, so I have to apologize, made this point, and I think it's a really valid one. Guendouzi makes some really nice progressive passes, really moves the ball between the lines nicely, but he switches off without the ball, and he does get caught up the field, and it hurts us, especially against counterattacking teams. And you have to ask, if that's the reason Emery's not playing Ozil, why is it Guendouzi plays every game? If the argument is Ozil's not playing because he's not working hard enough for the team, it's not that I think Guendouzi wouldn't want to, but he's certainly as weak off the ball defensively as Ozil is. So I think it's at least worth asking.
He's much more physical. No, he's much more physical. He's much busier. He totally impresses his personality on the game. The only problem with that is off the ball, he travels a lot. I mean, he's kind of a nomad around the midfield. So he might be doing really good things, but he's also like 10 yards away from where you'd want him to be when things get reversed on you. Sorry,
I guess that's sort of what I mean, though. And Clive, you can build on this, but I'm saying, like, if positional discipline or vulnerability off the ball is a reason Ozil's not playing, it certainly begs the question, are we getting more from Guendouzi than we are from Ozil? And I realize Guendouzi tends to play deeper than Ozil does, and maybe that Ozil just wouldn't be suited to that period. But, I mean, I actually thought, I don't want to beat up on him too much because I thought the game was lost in it, as Paul rightly said, had lost its structure at that point. But I actually thought when Ozil came on, he did a couple nice things initially and then just kind of didn't really care what happened from there. I mean, Clive, it's our first look at him for a while. He doesn't really strike me as someone who's suited to being a sub anyway. And again, caveats about the structure of the game being gone, but I don't think it was a really particularly impressive cameo from him.
Yeah, so where do we go here, right? So we have a Manchester United. They highlight things in you, really. Every time I watch Arsenal play Manchester United, I come away with the same feelings. I look down from the stands at their players. I looked at Pogba, I looked at Lingard, I looked at Sanchez, Martial, Rashford, Lukaku, Matic. These are serious running athletes, mate. Serious transition beasts. They can move. And you look at our midfield at that late stage of the game, Guendouzi is our fastest recovery runner. If Guendouzi is your fastest recovery runner, you have a problem. It's not about systems, not about the player. It's that's what he's got, right? Ozil hasn't got that recovery speed. Ramsey at that time of the game had run out of his legs. Shakir's already in the back line. Torreira had run himself into the ground, was in the wrong position, and suddenly the green grass is staring at you, right? So please don't think that Guendouzi can't defend. Don't think that he's very proactive. He's got a lot of personality. He can defend. Within that structure late in the game, it was just too much grass for them all to cover, and basically Pogba just took the mickey and ran through us, and he was making ground on people with the ball, and he is a special player. The thing about Ozil is, I got to say, when he came on, he does a few nice passes, but what really struck me, and I agree with you, I don't think it's a substitute. I think it's beneath him. I said it before. He doesn't want to know, right? So what really struck me was he was literally not at the level of this game. He could not handle the movement, the running. It did not suit him. I want to say it did not suit him coming on. It was almost looking like the manager put him on there to see if he could hang himself. It literally looked that bad. He was nowhere. He was getting the ball and playing these nice little vertical passes out to the wing, and good ball, well done. It was all done at an intensity level which did not belong in this game. It wasn't there. It wasn't at the level. So don't look at the numbers. Don't look at the passing.
I thought he was terrible. I mean, I'll be candid. And I know anytime you're critical of Ozil, you get killed. But I thought he came on, he made a couple nice passes, thought he was terrible. Yep, I agree.
I've never felt this way. I've never seen a player like that. Someone who I've already said is in my top 5 favourite ever players I've ever watched live. I mean, that's how I've learned so much from watching him about the game of football. But, mate, there is nothing in his feet. There's no oomph. There's no snap. Sometimes you can hear the ball when he kicks it when you're in the ground. There's nothing there. It's just nothing. He looks weak. I was shocked at how he played, and it's not a criticism. It's just where he is right now. So that makes me wonder about what's happening off the pitch. How fit is he? Is he training properly? Has he given up? Is there been a complete relationship breakdown? And some people at the pub were saying to me afterwards, "Yeah, I thought he'd done all right." That's just not what I saw. which makes the game great, right? We all see different things, but I just didn't see it. More than anything with him, I didn't feel it. He's someone that feels the game, and when he feels the game, it's just a beautiful picture. Nothing, mate. Nothing. I felt no hope. I felt nothing was going to come from him, and it's very concerning that we are tied together, and we're getting that level of performance from him. And it's nowhere to blame him. He was a substitute against a strong team and won 8 on the trot. This is not about him, but just getting a snapshot we haven't seen for a while. Him on the pitch. You're hoping you're going to see something that says, "I want to be here." I didn't sense that at all, Elliot. Didn't sense that.
No, and this was a weird game because at 2-1, that's game on. It never really felt on, weirdly. We didn't get a shot. Another game, we're late in the game. We just didn't create any shots, even though we were chasing the game.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, please do.
What's really apparent is that sometimes what really stood out to me was we looked tired. After an hour or so, we looked tired. And I tweeted out saying we've got a lot of 60-minute players. And the way he's been using these players in half games and three-quarter games, I think it's been really smart. So speaking to a mate of mine who's a huge Ramsey fan, and I know some people want him to start games, but he's been coming on at half-time and having devastating impacts. In the first 25 minutes of this game, he was our best player. No doubt about it. He was really strong. With Lacazette, he was really strong and moving. But then he died. And then you're now seeing why he gets taken off. And this is where he was picking up injuries before. Car strains in the last 20, having to go off. He died, and we've got a number of players. Torreira died, right? He died on the game. Maitland-Niles was struggling. Kolasinac was struggling in periods physically to stay with them. We've got a problem there with the type of players that we have. They're just not...
Are you prepared to look back on using all these players in the group stage of the Europa League when they could have been resting, using them all in every game during the holiday program? I mean, I don't want to beat on Emery, but come on. I mean, they've got a lot of games in their legs already.
No, not more than anybody else. Not more than Manchester United. This is about our ability to raise ourselves against big teams twice in a week. We haven't done it for ages, for years. When we beat Spurs, I think we had Manchester United on the Wednesday. I knew we wouldn't quite take them. We didn't have the oomph in our body. I wasn't expecting to win this game because after the Chelsea tip-top performance, we've just never produced 2 big ones in a week.
Can I push back for 1 second, though, just on one idea here? Mate. I mean, again, double training sessions, very limited rotation, but not just that. We've been praising all season, and rightfully so, that Arsenal, every game, what do we say? That's the most running any team's done in the Premier League this season. That's the most running any team's done in the... Oh, that's the most run... I mean, if your system demands your players lead the league in running every single game, then as the season wears on, you've been running more than other teams. You're going to fade. I mean, I think there is a valid question to be asked. I think Pochettino's side struggle with this, that they faded late in seasons because small squad and a lot of running. I mean, isn't it fair to maybe look at the lack of power in the legs right now and say maybe Emery is wearing through these guys?
No, I think you could say that. That's a view. I can't say you can't have that. That's a view.
You can say it's wrong.
I could. But what I will say is, the way we've beaten some of these bigger teams at home, like in Chelsea and Spurs, for example, the way we've done it, I really like. Compare that to the games we won at home last year or drew last year. I've really liked the performance. And a lot of that has been built on intensity and running and technique at high speed and transitions and really good, strong technical and physical balanced performances. I've really felt they've been better this year than they were last year about the way we did it. Last year is far more individual, far more Alexis Ozil type wins, the 3-0 Chelsea home game from a couple of years ago. Those wins are based on artistry and our artists waking up and feeling good that day. These wins are closer to something becoming more sustainable. But what we have is the same players that he's trying to squeeze as much juice out of this orange. And every now and again, they just dry up. And I could see this one coming. We're not unable to sustain it. And what we haven't spoken about yet, but we have to, before this game, I think a day or two before this game, there was lots of clips going on about the Man City away game when Santi Cazorla had a great day, right? Is that possibly the last Big Six away victory we've had? I'm not too sure. And we still all watch those little clips in that video because we've not gone away and had a big win yet. And we need to look at the types of players that we have. And you know my view on this. We got some nice players, some lovely players, but we haven't got the types that are going to dominate these teams sustained week on week on week on week. We can squeeze a bit out every now and again. We can squeeze a bit out to win FA Cups. We can squeeze a bit out to win the home games, get the top 6. But every now and again, we just hit a wall where we can't quite get any more out of this group. And I don't blame the manager, because this has been a trend over the last 3 or 4 years. And I think this is why my constant mantra is we need some significant change and significant pillars to come out of this team before the identity changes.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's a lot there. So before I waffle on about something stupid, Paul, do you want to weigh in on any of those topics? Or are you gone? No, you know what? Paul is gone. Is he? No, Paul's here. Paul's still here. He's just on mute. Okay. The good thing is Skype actually tells me when someone's muted, so I know if they're paying attention or not. So, Paul,
yeah, no, I'm paying attention.
Put down the lingerie catalog and tell me what you think of those topics.
Yeah. The one thing I would say is that the fixture list has been nicely paced for us in recent times. So, we coasted against Fulham 4-1. And we didn't play that was January 1st. We didn't play in the Premier League again till January 11th. All right, that was a fairly exhausting game because we were chasing it, and unfortunately we lost 1-0 to West Ham. And then we don't play again till January 19th, which was a rousing 2-0. And then we play 6 days later at home against United. You got to say, it's not the most exhausting period of a season, and we should be able to pace ourselves at that point. I understand there's some accumulated, but that's not terrible. And as Clive points out, other teams have gone through it now. United have a for all their moaning and groaning and all Mourinho's moaning, I mean, they have a big squad with a lot of big players, and I kind of lean to I think it's a bit of both, unfortunately. I think our early season certainly didn't leave us fresh, but there's no great excuse, especially when you're playing at home. And then on the other hand, as Clive says, they have some players with real legs who can, busy players and players who can traverse a pitch. And they were set up for this game, and they took it to us, and they got the early lead, and it played into their hands more and more as time went on. To me, it's kind of a one-off, but I don't think the issues that a reasonable person can look at here will go away quickly. I think there's going to be a tough second half to our season for us, and a bit of an eye-opener.
Well, that's encouraging.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you? So let's, as we start to wrap up from this game. By the way, one thing we haven't touched on is Petr Cech. Just really briefly, Paul. He announced his retirement at the end of the season. He may have wanted to rethink that and just announce it immediately.
Now,
yeah. Paul, can we continue to? I mean, this performance raised questions to me about whether he can be a cup keeper. The Europa League is pretty important for us now. Are you leaning towards Leno having to basically start every game?
Well, if my career depended on it as a manager, I'd be very slow. I'd be very keen to start looking at Leno for the tougher games here when we get into it. I mean, Cech played a role in their, was it the third goal, where he palmed it out to, I think it was the third goal. He palmed it out, and they put it away. I mean, up to that, I don't think he looked very good, but I don't know that he cost us the first 2 goals. I know he was a bit suspect on his near post. He was kind of moving to the other side, but it's still pretty easy to get beaten on that play for the Lingard goal. I wouldn't blame him for the Sanchez goal either, I don't think. Maybe that's just my opinion. I don't think he looked good, but I think the third goal, which may not have been that significant, was the one where he looked terrible.
Clive, you disagree?
Only just a bit of a highlight, really. I think other teams press him. It's as simple as that, right? So other teams tell you where you're rubbish, and other teams to stop pressing Leno now because they know he's quite comfortable and he can dink it over their heads, right? Other teams press him. They press him. They pressed him early. They got him nervous, and I got nervous watching him, right? And that's an issue. And you could see it on his face. He's not comfortable with it. He just is not comfortable with it. On the goals, it does, what you got to do, you got to have softer hands there. It's got to go out for a corner. And you just push it out too far, right? And maybe that comes with match sharpness and just feeling the ball a lot better. For me, it's just the fact that we play back to him and he looks nervous and we can't get out through him. And so other teams get encouraged. So that's the main issue.
The one thing I'd add, though, Clive, is while I agree with that, he is just back. And
exactly.
He knows, nobody's fooling anybody. He's not good with the ball at his feet, but he'd get a bit better with a few games. That's the one thing you might say.
You get your distance. The first thing that goes when you're a goalkeeper, you don't play. You worry about coming out. Your distances go, and crosses when you come into crowd scenes. You worry about that in case you misjudge it. You just need match sharpness, right? So you're absolutely right to say that. I know you've been quite gloomy about this game, but there wasn't that. There was many a chance we had going across their area where we got a bit more lucky. We could have scored a couple of goals.
Yep.
I didn't feel we were dominated. We had almost every piece of bad luck going in this game. When we had momentum, we had big injuries. I mean, there was a 10-minute stoppage in this game, literally. And people were having to warm up off the camera. I mean, literally do warm-up runs. It was, and after that, it's almost like there's 3 games in one. You literally got a chance to stop and restart. So you can't build up momentum, and we lost our momentum, continuously after the injuries, right? So although we got beaten, and I think we deserve to get beaten, I wasn't distraught, and because I think there's bigger things for us to do this year. I was more distraught about the injuries that happened. Right? They really, really concerned me because they could cost us more points down the road, right? So I wasn't distraught, and the gap was not huge at all. That could have easily been 2-2 just after half time, and we've got them rocking, right? So a bit of luck with injuries, and maybe we got a different reflection and analysis on this game. But hey, they won it tactically. We took too long to adjust. When we adjusted, they picked us off. So there you go.
Well, and I think one of the kind of low-key big stories of this season for us, aside from, the defending gets the headlines because it's bad, and it should get the headlines. But I think a low-key big story for us this season has been tremendous wastefulness around the box. This game, I just found myself pulling my hair out so many times where we had the ball on the edge of the area, in the box, on the wing, and just held the ball too long and missed the opportunity to deliver the pass, or you passed it to nowhere in particular, or took an easy, safe option, out to the overlapping fullback. There's very little creativity in the side, really, with end product. And obviously, I know the Mesut Ozil thing keeps coming up, but even with Mesut Ozil, it's still probably not enough. I can't help but look at Mkhitaryan's absence as being a big one for us, because whatever his flaws and his sloppiness and inconsistency, he has a final ball in him. I think, you look at Liverpool, you look at City, you look at Spurs, even Manchester United, who can bring on a Martial and a Rashford or whatever it is. They have dynamic, direct players that can do something special in the final third, beat a man, create space. We just really, really miss that. We have 2 guys that can get on the end of things, and Lacazette has a few extra tools in his toolbox, and Aubameyang does in the box, but really it is still about getting the ball to an overlapping fullback and crossing it. And I just think we lack the ability to vary how we attack and the execution to do well with the ball once we're in and around the box. So if you're going to concede goals, you need to get that part right. And certainly, Paul, the injuries mean we're going to concede goals. Let's just touch on the transfer window really quickly. In your opinion, the injuries we have now, it doesn't look sustainable. Apart from bringing in a defender or 2 in the window, do you see any way we can keep pace, in the top 4 race?
Well, so we'll get Mavropanos back soon. We hopefully have
no
Koscielny.
idea what he can do, by the way.
I know, yeah.
People are just expecting he'll step in and be fine. He hasn't played football in a year, and we've seen him play twice. I think there's a lot of wish casting going on there.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm just mentioning
reporting
a name.
the news. Yes, okay.
It's not quite a year. He played pre-season, right? But he also played the end of last season. But yeah, he's good. He is a mixture of Baresi and Cannavaro at the moment in our minds.
Yep.
Right? So
Yeah, anyway, let me go toe-to-toe with Elliot on this one. He is a defender, and he does play for us.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. You got me there.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, what do we do? How do we get through?
So from Emery's comments, it sounds like we would consider it, but it's late in the game, and we've struggled so much with. I mean, we've been looking for wide players, wide midfielder, can play wide midfield and winger, and we're struggling having come into this with 2 months' notice. Looking at players, so maybe they'll scramble somebody for defender, but it would look like we need it. I mean, even within our list of centre backs that we have, basically have Mustafi, because Koscielny could pop a spring at any time. Probably shouldn't be asked to play 2 games a week anyway.
No, you can't do that. Come on.
Yeah, so we don't know what we got with Mavropanos. We don't know what we got with Koscielny, so that's Mustafi. Basically, in a month's time, hopefully Socrates comes back, but he's had a couple of injuries this season. He looks like he's built like a brick shit house, but that's at least 2 significant injuries so far.
He may wind up instead being a shit brick house. You just never know.
Yeah, a little harsh. Elliot, a little harsh for an Arsenal.
He's a great
player. He
wears
the shirt.
I love Socrates. He's been our best defender. I just meant the way his body is put together. Like instead of being a brick shit house, might be a shit brick house.
Yeah, I know. So basically, we got Mustafi. And I know how excited you are about him. So yeah, we need a centre back. Obviously, Monreal can fit in there. Lichtsteiner looks like he should be a reasonable centre back, but I know you're still scarred by that header back to the goalkeeper that didn't make it. So we're in trouble.
Scarred by a lot of things. I will say this for Lichtsteiner. Sometimes you just got to take your medicine. This is the guy we brought in to be the backup to Bellerin. So maybe we just got to use him, because I don't think he's been impressive at center back, but that's fair. He's not a center back. So maybe he can play fullback, and we need to try that. I don't know. I mean, Nacho Monreal center back. I think the one thing that worries me, Clive, is if we keep trying Shaq at center back. Not because he's been terrible there, but because he's not a great center back, and we have become so reliant on him building the play in midfield.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. We need him in midfield, although I will say... Again, I felt he disappointed me a little bit on Friday, and the reason why he disappointed me is just the way he was receiving the ball. I sort of said this at the weekend. He was just receiving the ball from his defenders, but what you want him to do is get on the half turn, and he kept being closed, which means I think he was worried about being pressed. He looked nervous. He didn't want to open himself out and play the ball forward, right? So his biggest trick is his pace of pass and his forward passing, right? So if you're now passing backwards all the time to nervous, overworked defenders, well, what are you giving me? Right? What are you giving me? You're not giving me a lot, right? So, but when he comes out of midfield, we tend to miss him because he's solid. He knows where to be. He breaks things up. He's not quick enough in my mind. And simple as that, he's just not quick enough. So again, he is fine for Arsenal right now. But if I'm somebody in that club, we got to decide how we surround him, and we have to surround him with more speed. Torreira's got speed, but there's no one else. Guendouzi's slightly quicker than, say, a Ramsey, and he's slightly quicker than Xhaka, but it's not devastating, is it? It's not like a massive gap that your eyes can see. So we need some speed in there for those more important, bigger games. So if I was a manager, I would go to the back three. I would lose that now. I would try to use Mustafi in the centre of a back three as the most experienced one as the organiser. And I would surround him with Mavropanos or a Monreal, for example. And I would either use Lichtsteiner at right wing back or Bellerin at right wing back. And I'd just say, look, you know what? Fullbacks are important to us. Let's use them offensively. When you have a back three, at least we defend with 3. When we have a back 4, we end up defending with 2. Yep. And that's the problem, right? So I don't care who it is. Even though it's Cardiff, people can say, why you got back 3? It's Cardiff. You know what? Let's just play the back 3 and everyone else go and get them, right? And we know how we're going to do it from wide areas and travel through the centre. When we play a back 4, I think we're vulnerable unless we've got everybody in shape, our best players available with a strategy and a diamond in front of them to make sure that we don't get exposed. That's the only time I could deal with a back 4, really, with this set of players that we have at Arsenal. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. So then let's transition to the hot transfer story that has everybody totally in agreement, as usual at Arsenal. Everybody singing from the same hymn sheet. Perisic. Perisic. But it's Modric. Modric, yeah. Okay, glad we got that out of the way. What do you think about this deal, Paul? So initially it was, we want to loan him. Now, what we do know is he's turned in a transfer request. So Inter presumably are under pressure to do something. The last reporting I saw, and I'm going to put reporting in air quotes because anything about transfers is only ever sort of reported, is that we might be willing to loan with a compulsory fee at the end of the loan. Where do you stand on Perisic?
That's where I stand.
How dependent would that position be for you on it being a loan versus a purchase?
So if we're talking about 35 to 40 million for Perisic, that's fucking nuts. Given all the challenges we have, we're not supposed to have the money. So that would be, as you alluded to, that would be the summer money. We spent 70 million or something last summer. So that's more than 50% of last year's summer budget. Now, I know things are going to be much better this summer, but are they going to be better than last summer or just better than this January window? So if you're telling me we might be spending 50% of our money on Perisic, and if he's handed in a loan request, a transfer request, does anybody do that just to get a straight up loan? I don't think so. I mean, it's possible, but it's probably more likely if he's doing that, he has an eye to being sold somewhere. And I hope it's not us. I mean, the guy's classic Arsenal. He's 29. It couldn't be more perfect. He's 29 for the last game he plays at Inter Milan, and he'll be 30 for his first game for us. Right on the snot. I think it's February 2nd is his birthday. If we're paying 35 to 40 million for a guy we'll get zero back from, one good injury and we have a Debussy on our hands, it's fucking nuts. So we can't do that. And that's a malicious rumor, that's clickbait, I pray, because it would be absolutely bananas that's how we spend our money.
I mean, Clive, look, on the one hand, I can kind of understand the thought process that we have to finish in the top four or win the Europa League. Both of those things are still potentially in play. And bringing in a player who can start right now, make an impact right now, and bring something that we're missing right now is worth a lot of money to us if it gets us into the Champions League for next season and should be a priority. Having said that, that is still, statistically speaking, a pretty small window to get through if you're committing to that player because you pay 35 million for a player plus the wages. You're talking about committing a lot of money to a player who's on the wrong side of the age curve. And let's make no mistake about the age curve. You hit 30 and you decline. It just happens, especially for attacking players, and especially in the Premier League where it's more physical and there's no winter break. So, I mean, for you, where do you stand on the idea of acquiring a player like this for a short-term fix, but potentially on a long-term acquisition?
I don't want it to be a long-term acquisition. I'm very much in agreement with Paul. We need to change this, don't we? We're becoming a retirement home, right? It's not any. There's just no value in doing this. The player itself, he's not even in the Inter Milan team at the moment, so he's not playing.
Well, that's good. They can take a player in return who's not in the Arsenal team right now.
Yeah, they want to cash in and get 35 million from the super rich Premiership stupid idiots are going to pay that money, right? When they buy from us, they never pay that money, right? So why are we helping them out with their financials? If it's a loan for a period of time, it's a 3-4 million loan fee. That makes a lot of sense because, again, we're overloading Alex Iwobi. He's going back to his I've got no confidence at the moment. He's running in straight lines, looking at his opposing defender's feet, and there's just no hope of him getting around him. So that's not going to sustain itself. That could get ugly if you start losing games. And so we do need to take the pressure off him. It's typical Arsenal, right? We got defenders with broken faces and broken ankles and broken knees, and the first thing we do is go and buy 2 wingers, right? So that's what we do, and we debate that. So I want to see us go younger. I really like the idea of that PSG player in midfield, and Kunku, I think his name is. He looked. Now, I looked at that. I didn't know him before, but my son did, and he said, yeah, he's good. I looked at all the videos. I think, yeah, that's what we need in our midfield. That's what we need attacking. We need people with devastation that scare people, that really make people concerned. Bring a new face to the club. Not another 30-year-old getting his last big wage from us, and then we're left with potential losses upcoming, which we're going to see later this year, right? So, because we're having to pay too much money. It's just like in the workplace, right? The more experienced older guys get paid the most. Simple as that. They've done their work. But why are we paying all of them at Arsenal? It doesn't make sense. So I hope we move away from that.
Yeah, it just is one of these situations where you look at the financial reports that just came out, and Spurs are within 9 million of us or whatever it was, and the gap is closing between other teams. Teams that were behind us have passed us. We're going to report a loss in the next reporting period, a substantial loss it looks like, and you can't keep acquiring players who will have no resale value and expect that you're going to get anywhere, because we don't have an owner who's willing to put money in. Now you can say that's the problem. Fine. If your opinion is that the problem is that Stan won't put money in, I can't argue with you. That's an opinion, but he's not going to. So we have to run the club with an eye towards another way to operate.
He's not even able to at the moment, Elliot, with his short-term cost control measures. He's not. Yeah,
I follow you. I guess I'm making the point, though, that whatever the rules, right, at the end of the day, we have to live based on our reality as it is right now. And our reality as it is right now is that player trading is an important part of our revenue that can be reinvested back into the squad. So it is a really tough situation, because there's an argument, a debate going on Twitter, sort of saying, look, we need to get back into the Champions League. This is a guy who could potentially get us there. Then as a loan, that makes sense to me. But if you commit to that player and you don't get there, the future that you're committing to gets, your percentage of getting back in gets lower and lower and lower. Because if a team with Perisic this year can't get back into the Champions League, what does a team with a year older Perisic do next year? You know what I mean? And you've spent the money getting him that could go to someone that could develop into a better talent. So I just, it feels like a path to nowhere. I'm fine with loaning basically anyone because there's no risk to it. But loan with a compulsory option isn't really an option. It's a purchase. You're just deferring when the money gets spent. I think that's pretty good coverage of all that. We got Cardiff coming up tomorrow. So, hopefully no one will listen to this podcast. That's always our hope. Because it's just a hugely embarrassing set of opinions that I've espoused on this particular episode. But that's okay. I'm kind of used to it. It's really not different from any other time. And don't worry, guys, because after this section, we're going to talk lingerie, and then we're going to have the Doomcast section with Dave Meeks coming on. So you don't want to miss that. Paul,
this was the cheery section,
This was
everybody.
the cheery section. Just in closing, with an eye towards Cardiff and then City at the weekend, I posted on Twitter, I've got my schedule. On Saturday, it says Manchester City versus Arsenal, and then right after that, it says delete Twitter, because I have a feeling that's going to be an unpleasant time on social media. But if you had Emery's ear, or even both of his ears, you'd look weird, because they probably wouldn't fit your head. But how would you want him to set up for Cardiff?
Yeah, I think Clive's right. Given the paucity of defending talent at our disposal, given Clive's well-made point on getting, Maitland-Niles will make a better wing back than he will a full back in an attacking sense. I think you play 3 at the back against Cardiff in preparation for going away to City. Unless we're just planning to sit back with a straight 4 at the back, but with 3 at the back and 2 wing backs, you get to have 5 at the back. So no matter what way we play, I think Cardiff is the right testing ground to get ourselves, because this is all new personnel at this point, get ourselves sorted against Cardiff, get a result, hopefully, and then go to City knowing roughly who's going to play where. But 3 at the back, given I mean, we don't just need to field 2 centre-backs. We need backup centre-backs. So at least with 3 at the back, we just need one actual real centre-back in the middle. And you can use your Monreals, your Kolasinacs if it comes to that, Lichtsteiner, Jenkinson, whoever the hell you need alongside them as the centre-backs. It won't be pretty, but it'll be it should mostly be functional. And we have the right personnel to be able to play with 3 at the back at the moment because it's the only personnel we have.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is there's a part of me that says, just go balls to the wall against Cardiff and attack, play a back 4,
But what does it get us?
It doesn't get, I know. That's exactly, I was going to finish with that. And what it does is you're playing football without a net at that point, because if you get caught on the counter and they get a goal and they have something to defend, the game gets even harder.
And you've nothing to bring to City is the problem, and you haven't built anything.
Yeah,
in terms of confidence and a way of playing.
I would say this: if you offered me 3 points between the 2 games, I'd take the 3 points. So I kind of believe that our job is to get 3 points against Cardiff, not to prepare for City, because I am prepared to write the City game off. Maybe that's sacrilegious, but I don't see us going.
But you don't want to get shafted at City. You want to perform at least.
I guess we got shafted at Anfield, and it is what it is. So I would like it to not happen again. I agree. But if you told me you would give me the 3 points tomorrow for a 5-0 hiding at City, I'd probably still take it, though. Honestly.
Nope.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, Clive, where do you stand on that?
No, also, we got to get the points against Cardiff, right? That's just obvious and paramount. The City game, well, by the time the City game comes, I'll just talk myself into the fact we can get a point, right? So, and that's what being a fan's all about. But obviously the centre-back situation is the major concern. I feel for Koscielny, right? He's just started to come back to some sort of form, and that happens. And Socrates, well, yeah, he is our best defender at the moment, and we lose him. We need something there desperately, but I think that's going to be a summer purchase. If there's a loan to be had, it needs to be in that situation. But is Gary Cahill the answer? Maybe. Chelsea seem to want a lot of money for him, so maybe we walk away from that. There's nothing in the reserves. Callum Chambers is no longer a centre-back. We can't get him back anyway because the loan deal that stipulates we can't get him back after a certain date. So we're in a situation where we are dependent upon Baresi / Mavropanos, right? That's what we need to come through. And if he does, who obviously I'm a big fan of him, of what he could be, but it's a hell of a lot to ask a player who hasn't played since Boreham Wood nearly, and then to play his next game to be Cardiff / Man City away within 4 or 5 days of each other. That's a big ask.
We saw it with Holding. That is a position that takes time to get right. And, I'm not saying he won't be good. I'm just saying he won't be consistently good right away, because no young center back, I should never say no, but most young center backs aren't, certainly not consistently. Now, you could argue if he has to go through growing pains, he's still going to be better than the alternative.
Yeah, he has got the tools. He has really got the tools. I mean, Holding had to work very hard to get to that level, and what I like about Holding is he added a level of passing ability and composure to add to his game. Defensively he's solid. He's not super quick, but he's made himself an Arsenal centre-back by making sure he uses the ball really well. Mavropanos uses the ball pretty well, but defensively he's quicker, he's bigger, he's stronger. He has the tools. He just lacks the game time, and that's why we can't go all in against him.
All he has to do is play every single game at a 10 out of 10 level for the rest of the season, and I'll be right behind him. That's it.
Absolutely.
Let's leave it there. I've got Dave coming up with the doomy segment of the podcast, so this cheery shit is over. But don't worry, we will spice up your life with little lingerie, easy for me to say. It is, a little over 2 weeks to Valentine's Day, and God knows you're going to need some romance in your life when the window closes. So I would be giving the enclosed a look. We'll talk about them momentarily. But first, Paul's on Twitter at Pause in My Pants. Thanks, Pause.
Woohoo!
Clive's on Twitter at ClivePAFC. Thank you, Clive.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a break. We'll talk lingerie, and then we will come back with the part of the podcast that won't be as cheery as this part. Stay with us. Okay, everyone, it's time to tell you about our friends at Enclosed Lingerie. You can find them online at The Enclosed, enclosed.com. Enclosed Lingerie is a Lingerie of the Month club. That's right, just like a Beer of the Month club, only better, because it's a high-end luxury lingerie gift for you and your partner that's going to enhance the intimacy in your relationship. Right now, if you put in Arsenal at checkout, they're going to give you $35 off any gift from Enclosed Lingerie. So you're going to want to go to theenclosed.com and sign up now. Look, Valentine's Day is around the corner. What better way to celebrate the romance in your relationship than celebrating Valentine's Day with a gift from The Enclosed? And the gifts keep coming every month. So while it can be difficult to remember to keep the romance, to keep the intimacy in your relationship, The Enclosed has your back. Every month you're going to get that high-end luxury lingerie gift, and it's going to remind you of the importance of romance in your relationship. So do it now. Go to theenclosed.com. There is a perfect fit guarantee, so you never have to worry about the fit. It's beautiful high-end luxury lingerie. Just go to theenclosed.com and enter promo code ARSENAL for $35 off at checkout. Do it now. All right, we're back, and we have a very special guest coming on right now. This is really a treat for you, or depending on your perspective, an undeserved punishment. I've heard it both ways. Back in the day, there was a podcast, and technically still is a podcast called the Arse to Mouse Podcast, also known by the listeners as the Doomcast, because it was really fucking doomy. And one of the people responsible for that is Dave, and Dave is here now, and you cannot find him on Twitter because he literally is not on Twitter. He's a weirdo. Here's Dave. Hey, Dave.
Hello. I appreciate your definition of the word special. That's quite a lax definition you've got there, but I appreciate it.
There's a massive amount of subtext that can be added to the word special. So you are special in a lot of ways. And for a lot of people, they just know you as the Scottish guy from the podcast, the Arse to Mouse podcast with Tim Clark, by the way. So there may be one of those coming up. You're going to be in New York in April. We're all going to get together and potentially do a podcast, because the once-a-year podcast seems like a good thing.
It seems to me it's a tradition I think we should try and uphold, as taxing on our schedules as it is. So,
okay, so between now and then, Perisic going to save the club? 30-year-old from Inter?
I mean, no. I'm gonna put it out there. Like, of all the things I wanted from this potential non-existent January shopping list, technically he's still 29.
He's 29 until he's 30. That's how it works, Dave.
I think the argument might have been done on Twitter before. But yeah, I did not really have a 29-year-old winger at the top of my wanted shopping list. I'm not against the transfer. Like, the money being talked about seems slightly foolish for such a cash-strapped club as we are. I think close to 7 million just in wages between now and May, which seems fairly extravagant. And then
7 a.m. kickoff did the math and said, like, between the mooted fee and the wages, he'd basically be £322,000 a week over the duration of the. So basically, Mesut Ozil just with a different last name.
I like the player fine. Like, I thought he had a particularly good World Cup. I remember when Croatia knocked England out in the semi-final. He had an excellent game then. He seems quite a canny player. And if you're asking me, would he be more prolific in terms of assists and goals than Mkhitaryan, I'd say, provided he hits the ground running in a new league quickly, yes. But it wouldn't massively excite me. But having a semi-effective winger would be a novelty. I can't remember the last time we had one of them. So
does he score goals? Like, am I missing something? Like, we've got plenty of guys that don't score goals. Does he score goals?
Well, from the very cursory look I had earlier today, his contribution from his time in Italy has been pretty good. His numbers in terms of directly contributing in goals, rather in terms of key passes or assists and finishes, fairly good. So, but considering the gaping black hole of despair that is our centre of our defence, and just defence in general, I think we have more pressing issues to address. But it would seem like a strange use of resources for a club that has been so bad at selling and buying of late. So to make a large financial inlay on a player who will have next to no resale value in 3 years' time does seem like a very Arsenal thing to do. I mean, it seems like a very Gazidis thing to do, which is worrying considering he's no longer at the club. But if this is the kind of blueprint of the new regime, and certainly the post-Mislintat regime, it's not yeah, it's a little worrying, I'd have to say. I don't know. What do you feel about the potential transfer?
Well, I just love this as a squad building idea. Like, take the player who's potentially the best player in your squad and swap him with another club for a slightly less good, equally as old player. Like, Alexis Sanchez goes to United for Mkhitaryan, and Perisic comes to Arsenal, and supposedly we're trying to get Ozil to go the other way. Like, that feels like a recipe for disaster. Every time you just take a really good player and send him somewhere else in exchange for a maybe slightly less good but similar age player, I don't know that that's going to lead us to the promised land. I think the problem is, like, look, he could be really good and he could help us, but unless we finish top 4 this year, which is a really tiny margin for error, or I guess win the Europa League, then you've got a 31-year-old middle of next season player on big wages who, much like Mesut Ozil, might find himself just totally out of the manager's plans, and who even knows who the manager would be at that point. But it's funny, since you're not on Twitter, I like giving you access to Twitter stuff that just drives me nuts. So there's an account on there that posted a lineup. It said, realistically, we could line up with something like this next season. Pepe for 50 million, Maguire for 40 million, Denis Suarez for 20 million, sell Ozil, Mustafi, Chambers, Elneny, Jenkinson, Martinez, wages gone, check, Lichtsteiner, Welbeck gone too, massive rebuild incoming. And the lineup is the most distinctly Everton lineup you've ever seen in your life. You've got a front three of Lacazette, Iwobi, and Pepe. You've got a midfield trio of Xhaka, Torreira, and Denis Suarez. And the back line...
Are we selling Aubameyang in this fantasy?
I mean, I guess so, yeah. And then the back line is Kolasinac, Maguire, Holding, Bellerin, and Leno in goal. Like, that screams we're now Everton. Like, the idea that that's where we're headed is pretty nauseating.
Contrary, Elliot, because Everton actually spend money.
They do spend money.
I wish.
All right, well, we could be the new Everton then. That's fine. So while we're on the way to new Everton, we're not in the FA Cup anymore. How much did that aggravate you?
Strangely, not that much, and this is quite bizarre because I was actually watching it with my ex-flatmate who's a quote-unquote Manchester United fan, even though I'm fairly certain he's not been within 50 miles of Old Trafford. But I think I wasn't bothered. Well, I was bothered to a certain extent because I hate losing to United, but I just think the memory of those 3 FA Cup wins is still fresh enough in my mind and heart that it didn't overly bother me. I mean, we obviously have much more pressing goals this season. Obviously, top 4.
Are you going to hit us with a top 4s are everything, like that Spurs song?
Well, I mean, if we're all going by the Pochettino motive, that I think
trophies are just ego.
There.
Yeah.
They're there to corrupt players, to inflate your ego and your sense of self-worth. So, I was actually, when I saw the starting lineup, I was, of all, and I know it's a fairly contentious point, Emery's general schizophrenia when it comes to starting lineups this season. But of all I'm tempted to say that was probably the least angry I've been at starting lineup this season. Like I outside Leno for perhaps Czech.
I like how you don't say happy, you say least angry.
Least angry, yeah,
grades
sure.
of anger.
Let's not be too. Let's not be too strong with the praise, but I was glad to see Maitland-Niles start over old Lichty, that's for sure. I was glad to see at least some cohesion in terms of formation carrying over from the Chelsea game. I think we have been very Jekyll and Hyde this season when it comes to personnel and formation. So, I was hopeful this would be the start of a trend of some more stability in terms of personnel and formation going forward.
There's stability. You won't see Mesut Ozil in any lineup. That's stability. No Mesut Ozil.
But, he came off the bench. So that was a bold, refreshing choice. I mean, the first 15 minutes were fine. Socrates got injured, and then the all-consuming black hole of a central defender that Mustafi is. He, even though I don't directly really blame him for the Sanchez goal, when you've got a player who's such a liability, I just think he just, this sense of just awfulness, just
panic.
Panic. It emits from every pore in his being, so it just infects every other player within 50 yards of him. So
where do you rate him? All right, of all the comedy clown car crash defensive players that have been,
he's top 3. He's Hall of Fame.
You've got Squillaci, Sylvester. There's a lot. Andre Santos, Traore played in the 8-2. Are you going to put Mustafi in that echelon?
He's definitely top 5. So although the 4 players you just mentioned, he is comfortably sitting at that very, very depressing top table. So I think in terms of the worst centre halves I've ever seen at the club.
Let me ask you a question.
Definitely be Scolacci.
Is Johan Giroud, if he was back in the squad, one of the top 2 centre backs at the club right now?
Oh, that is one of the most extraordinarily depressing statements.
I mean, think about some of the guys that weren't good enough in the past when we weren't good defensively. They'd be stars for us right now.
You'd be certainly competing for a first team place, which is quite depressing.
Yeah, could we? Oh, what was his Could we get a Senderos Giroud pairing right now for the win?
2005 Senderos had taken a heartbeat, but of course Sanchez had probably his most inspired moment in the United shirt against us, because that was always in the very doomy, depressing script. So,
all right. So then, what do you think about your boy Emery? So we have a back channel. You are the Emery representative of the back channel, which will surprise people who know you.
Wow, I'm astonished that's how I'm known in the back channel as the Emery apologist.
I think if you look at the back channel, you're the person screaming Emery in every time we score a goal. So what do you think of your boy's handling of Mesut Ozil? I mean, is it fine with you that he's just not a thing anymore?
Well, I will say before I comment on the Ozil situation, there's a popular, well, it's becoming ever more popular phrase in the back channel. Basque Moise is a term that's being used a lot just now, and I will say I'm not the one who either coined that phrase or uses it with every single message they send. So, I think it's been disastrous. I think it's been absolutely comical. I'm reticent to put all the blame in Emery, just because we're not privy to every decision that's going beyond the
only reason you won't put all the blame on Emery is because you put all of the blame on Stan Kroenke. So literally, if Aubameyang misses a sitter, you're like, Stan Kroenke can fuck off.
For full transparency, so yes, 100% of the blame is on our silent want-away owner. I wish he was want-away. I think it's extraordinary when you've got a £350,000 a week asset who is on any given day probably your most gifted footballer at the club, to freeze him out in such a way that is so harmful to the club and the player and the prospects of selling the player for any sort of fee. I mean, it's just, I get that for whatever reason, I know he can be mercurial, but if Emery doesn't like the cut of his jib, or he doesn't think that he can play this high press game that Emery only enforces once every 6 or 7 performances anyway, fine, but to ostracize him and leave him out like this, all you're going to do is massively damage his sell-on value. Like, you're right, it's a pretty small select pool of clubs that can afford him anyway on those wages. You're only, to use a horrendous cliche, you're only cutting your nose off to spite your face, because now maybe we could have sold him to PSG, perhaps Bayern, although I'd say Bayern was very unlikely. Now, who the hell would want to take him? Because he's had almost no football over the last 6 months. God knows what his fitness is like. He's been painted as this kind of, not pantomime villain, but a player who's not, who's work shy, who doesn't have the stomach for a fight, who has to be treated with very, he has to be treated very, very difficultly. He's such a luxury, you can't play him away from home. So I don't think we're going to be beating away sitters in June. So I just think if I could go back, if we could DeLorean ourselves back to, I guess, January 2018.
Just this time last year, the original sin.
Just this time last year, I would, if you could take, and the annoying thing is you wouldn't even need £350,000 a week. You could probably go back, offer Aaron Ramsey £200,000 a week, and I'm sure he'd be happy. He would have absolutely re-signed for that.
We did offer him that. We pulled it off the table because we wanted to lose him to Juventus for free. By the way, it shows you how far things have fallen. The official account today, you're not on Twitter, so I like sharing this stuff with you. The official account tweeted, I shit you not, shadow of a person emoji, Mesut Ozil's handle, and a picture of Mesut Ozil. Like, that's the tweet. Send tweet. It was just a picture of Mesut Ozil and his name. Like, he's such an enigma to the club now. They don't even know, how to present him on social media, so they just, tweeted out his name and a picture of him.
I must say, just something, going back to the back channel, that something that you've really impressed upon me recently. And to be honest, I was never as obsessed with you, but now I'm really coming around to your very depressing way of thinking. But just to look at Liverpool's success this season, and regardless of whether they win the league or just look at the points conversion rate, it's unbelievable. You're talking probably top 3 in Premier League history in terms of points at this stage of the season. They're their progress over the last 12 to 18 months has been colossal. I mean, absolutely transformative. And the reason they've been able to do that is because they sold one player for about £90 million and they sold another player for about £120, £130 million. And that has facilitated an entire squad rebuild where they've upgraded in key positions massively: goalkeeper, centre half, centre midfield. And if we are really going to do this, make this self-sustaining model work, you cannot be as bad. I mean, I was always obsessed with the ins, but now you've made me obsessed with the outs, because we've been so horrendous at selling.
Talk about
players.
net spend. That's what it is, Dave.
Yeah, I mean that's the club's biggest problem, because as you have rightly said in the last week or so on the back channel, spending money has not really been the issue the last 18 months. Because we spent 120 million, or the best part, 100 million, 2 strikers in the space of 6 months.
Yeah, more than that.
So financial outlay has not been the problem. It's been generating cash. And the only substantial transfer we've had in the last 3 or 4 years has been Oxlade-Chamberlain. We are astonishingly bad at selling players. I mean, I'll let you rant on this for a little while, but it's really quite something. Like, if you're going to try and make progress on Spurs, on Liverpool, on City, etc., you cannot be as bad in the transfer market as we are.
No.
Especially when it comes to selling. I mean, it's just astonishing how bad we are in the market.
Well, and this is my point. If you want to beat up on your punching bag Stan, be my guest. I'm not saying he's like helping us or anything, but do you want to give these people more money to spend poorly? Like, I don't know what you want them to do. I mean, these are the guys that decided. Well, these are the guys. Someone was the guy that decided to buy Mustafi. And, you look around the squad and you look at the decisions they've made at certain positions, and Xhaka, who, whether you love or hate Xhaka, it's clear that we definitely didn't know what we were getting when we bought him, because we said he was a box-to-box midfielder, and that just turned out to not be the case at all. We swapped Alexis for Mkhitaryan because it's the best we could do. We spent £110 million on strikers. I mean, I think Torreira was a savvy purchase. I think Guendouzi for the long term will be, wind up being a good purchase. I don't know. Socrates has been probably our best central defender this season. Leno.
That's a very low bar.
Yeah, well, fine.
That's a very low bar you have to vault under.
We have always sort of been of the opinion that if you look half decent as a center back at Arsenal, then you are a very, very good center back. Just because you're always defending emergencies and, picking up the calamities of the player you're playing next to. But I don't know. I think you're right. The issue isn't necessarily how much money we've spent. It's how we've spent the money we have spent. And it is really weird. I mean, you look at Arsenal 2019 and it is all of the chickens from the past 5-10 years coming home to roost. It's the ridiculous way we structured the stadium finance and the payments we have to make and the reserves we have to maintain to pay the stadium. It's the bad commercial deals that got surpassed by all our rivals. It's the huge wage bill on players that have underperformed. It's the failure to develop any assets that were saleable. I mean, we actually, the financial results just came out for 2017-18, and those results, look.
They were some reading. They were some not enjoyable reading.
Well, the funny thing is, the big headline was, Arsenal turns a huge profit. But I mean, that's an illusion because it doesn't include any of the big purchases. But also,
the actual headline though was really
Spurs are 9 million away from us.
Look how much Spurs have turned the tide in terms of catching up with us financially.
They surpassed us in matchday revenue because of Wembley, obviously, which is artificial. But I mean, the commercial deals, the stadium, I mean, all of the advantages we had when we moved to the Emirates, we just pissed through that. We were like a lottery winner, who's like bankrupt like 10 years after they win the lottery or something like that. So I don't really know where you go from there. But the thing I will say that is going to be interesting, we're going to turn a huge loss for the 18-19 reporting period, because that's where the purchases of Aubameyang and Lacazette and Torreira and Socrates and all that will show up, and we don't have any really offsetting sales during that period. The other thing is, people say, you say we're bad at selling, but look how much we made from player sales in the previous period. Well, some of that was just selling off junk, but also the Alexis swap was reported as a sale. You know what I mean? So we sold Alexis to United and bought Mkhitaryan, I believe is how that works. So that also artificially inflates our sales. I don't know. I mean, Do you just kind of get annoyed by the balance sheet analysis that goes into being an Arsenal fan at this point?
I mean, in general, money in Arsenal has never really been a happy topic. But I guess in terms of the new regime, and I'm not exactly hopeful. But not that Emery's got much to do with the the transfer side of things right now, but this really does predate even Stan Kroenke by many, many years. If you want really sad-faced president, you only have to go back to 2006, somewhere in 2006, immediately after losing the Champions League final. I remember David Dean coming out and saying this in a press conference just when Henri re-signed, that we had two £50 million offers. And bear in mind, this is summer 2006, so £50 million is moon money. That's an incredible
it's 100
amount
million
of money
today.
for,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. More. That's like the Neymar transfer, really. That is an incredible amount of money. Instead, we kept the player. He had half a season, and then he got that stomach injury. He scored maybe about 8 or 9 goals, and then he left for 16 million. So you did point this out, where we have almost never sold a really, really notable players for approaching what they're really worth in the market. We kind of lowballed the cess fee because we had a sweetheart deal with them saying, yes, give us one more season of this shit show and then we'll let you go to Barcelona. Van Persie, we kind of sold on the cheap because I think he pushed to that United
and he had 1 year left. We sold when he had 1 year left.
Yeah.
You can't be selling constantly in the final year of a deal.
Look at the Morata thing. I know it's only a loan move, but somehow Chelsea have persuaded it's Atletico, isn't it? Persuaded Atletico to take Morata, and I presume Atletico haven't seen any footage coming out of Stamford Bridge the last year. But we're just the worst blaggers ever. We just can't sell shit. It's just it's embarrassing. But one thing I will touch on just before you promptly drop me, as you should. But I was listening to the Arsecast on Friday, and I thought it was really interesting. There was a very I forgotten the gentleman's name, but he was a lot more articulate and a lot less stammering than me. He was a United fan, and he was
Musa Okwonga, I believe, is that? Or
I think so. Yes.
I've got it. Hang on.
James was asking him just for the outsider perspective and how he thought Emery's first 6-7 months in charge has gone, and he was he was absolutely full of praise, saying he thought he'd done an excellent job. He thought he'd managed players well. He thought he'd taken on the mantle he was taking over, the looming spectre of replacing an ingrained historic 20-year manager, which the only other precedent for that in the last maybe ever in English football was Moyes replaying United. And I thought that was interesting because I've got some friends I've got 3 friends who are actually season holders at the Emirates, and we also have a WhatsApp group which is considerably less doomy than the back channel, and they weren't Emery out. I'm not saying we are Emery out. Well, not in public anyway. But I just thought it was interesting. I think me, you and Tim, we're reasonably, we're fairly reasonable people in real life, but I think we are prone to wild mood swings when it comes to Arsenal opinions shared over WhatsApp. But I just thought it was interesting that I think from the outside looking in, I think most opposition fans probably look at Emery and think he's doing a decent job. I think we've got 5 more points in the table than we did at this stage last season. But I just think that's interesting. I don't know whether we are being overly harsh on them. I look at us. My general feeling is the football is not, the away record, just in terms of pure points, has obviously improved substantially. But I don't think the style of football has improved at all. I think you look at key metrics like chance creation, chance conversion, that's actually down. Certainly, the goals conceded is up. I'm very much. Still, the jury's out. I would say he needs a 2 or 3 transfer windows to really kind of impart his vision on the club. But I look at it now, and I have no idea what the philosophy of the club is. I don't know what style of football we're trying to play. I just thought it was interesting that people do think, there are people out there who think he's doing a good job. That was the thing.
I think it's interesting. Look, maybe. Well, Arsene Wenger, I think we agree, had become a not good coach towards the end. Maybe we underestimated the extent to which he was the glue holding the club together a bit, because you look at how quickly, Arsene Wenger goes, Ivan Gazidis fucks off, Sven Mislintat's gone, Ramsey's leaving on a free, Ozil doesn't play anymore. Things just feel very chaotic, and every piece of news that comes out about Arsenal right now just sends the message of a club in a little bit of chaos, trying to figure out how to pull itself together after, having a manager who seemed to hold it all together. So I think whatever criticism he deserved as a coach, maybe he deserved a little more credit as a manager, as the person running the club, because it certainly doesn't look like the club really knows what it's doing at this point. For those of people who never listened to the Doomcast, the Arsenal Mouse podcast, which, again, there will be an episode, at some point in the future, maybe, which is about as committed as we've ever been. We had a segment.
Whoa.
I don't want to overcommit you. We had a segment that we won't do now, called the Predictatron. And literally, this is how good this podcast was. We would just sit there, and Tim would read the fixtures, and we would just say loss, draw, or win. So it'd be about 25 minutes of us saying loss, draw, or win, while Tim tried to total up all the points we had accumulated, get it wrong 3 or 4 times. We're not going to do that. But what I will ask you is, what do you expect the outcome for the season? Where do you think we'll finish in the league and in the Europa League?
I think we'll finish 6th in the league. I think United will overhaul us. I think, momentum is a crucial thing in football. They have a lot of it, and they've, quite frankly, they've got a better squad than us as well. If Socrates is out for a month, which I believe he is, I can see us easily conceding 4 or 5 goals at the Etihad on Sunday. So I think we'll finish. I think we'll probably fade away badly towards the end of the season. I think we'll get 6. I think we'll probably finish a good 12 points off the top 4. And I think we'll probably get knocked out at the quarterfinal or the semi-final of the Europa League. I think if we face Chelsea, that's it. We're done.
Emery in then,
so yeah.
I assume?
So I think the season will be more or less over in late-ish March. I don't know. What about you?
It's a month better than usual, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. By the way, you're lucky you're not on Twitter, because you would take pelters for being a momentum merchant. That's not a thing.
Oh, is that a Twitter faux pas in 2019? Is it?
People don't believe in momentum anymore. All right. Well, look, you can't follow him on Twitter, but his name is Dave. Scottish Dave, Dave Meeks, Dave Meekleham, depending on how you want to find him. But you can't find him. So there you go. He does write game journalism, video game journalism. So if you read that stuff, you writing about any good games right now?
I'm playing the Resident Evil 2 remake. I'm recording footage of that for a website. That's very good. But if you don't care about video games, then you really don't care about my work at all. So
yeah, I don't care. I know that much.
My very important grown-up work.
Yeah, we will continue to chat with each other on the back chat until we do a podcast.
Yes,
Funny, the back chat has a title. If you've ever done WhatsApp, it has a title, that you can title the chat. And ours keeps changing. It is currently #ArsenalOut. So
I will, as a parting gift, I will give a semi-spoiler. If the Doomcast does happen, it'll be likely in April, and I can tell you, all 3 of us will either be incredibly drunk or incredibly hungover, because we're planning to do it in the flesh, which is quite exciting. So you'll have that to look forward to.
When he says in the flesh, he doesn't mean like naked and on top of each other, just in the same room. Although,
that's
why not both?
Why not both?
All right.
Anyway,
well,
thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, you bet. And now you get to hear our official, usual outro for this podcast. So that's Dave. My name's Elliot Smith. You can block me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. Give us a 5-star review. Write nasty things about us in the comments, and we'll talk to you after Arsenal 10, Cardiff 0.